My father's voice echoed across the admissions courtyard. You went behind my back? Students turned. A tour group slowed. My mother stood frozen beside him, lips pressed thin. My sister, fresh from Paris, still smelling like airport perfume, looked confused. I didn't answer. I just watched him unravel. That was the moment I had been waiting for. It hadn't always been like this. Or maybe it had, and I was just too loyal to see it. I used to believe my parents were strict because they cared. That the constant comparisons to my sister were motivational. She was the golden one. Honor society, varsity tennis, effortless charm. I was the practical one. I worked. I liked working. The bookstore smelled like dust and ambition. I shelved textbooks. I ran the register. I saved every tip. It felt honest, mine. Then one night at dinner, my father set his fork down like a judge delivering a sentence. You need to quit, he said. It's embarrassing. People talk. My mother nodded. We didn't raise you to be a cashier. I remember staring at my hands. Ink stained from price labels. Hands that paid for my own gas, my own phone bill. It's temporary, I said quietly. It makes us look like we can't provide, my father snapped. That was the first betrayal. Not because they made me quit, but because they framed independence as shame. I quit the next day. 3 months later, my sister posted photos in Rome, then Florence, then Santorini. Graduation gift. The caption read, #blessed. I didn't know about the trip until I saw the pictures. That's when something cold settled in my chest. I asked my mom that night casually, Europe's expensive. She smiled too quickly. We budgeted. The lie was soft, polished. I logged into my college savings account the next morning. Balance, $312.47. It used to be 5 figures. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't confront them. I did something smarter. I called my grandparents. They were quiet on the phone. Too quiet. Your father told us he had it handled, my grandfather finally said. That sentence told me everything. I drove to their house that weekend. I brought printed statements, dates, withdrawals, transfers, the Europe trip deposit lined up perfectly. My grandmother's hands trembled. He said it was for tuition, she whispered. That was the second betrayal. He hadn't just taken my fund. He'd lied to them too. I didn't ask them to fix it. They offered. We'll cover your tuition directly, my grandfather said. The university. Not him. And just like that, the power shifted. But I wasn't done. I spent the next 4 months quiet. I moved through the house like fog. Obedient, polite, invisible. Meanwhile, I gathered everything. Bank statements showing the withdrawals, screenshots of my sister's travel confirmations, texts from my father bragging to relatives about investing in my daughter's future. I saved every file in 3 places. Then I waited. The tuition deadline approached. My father grew smug. At least we planned ahead, he said one night. Unlike some families. I almost smiled. The university billing portal updated 2 days later. Paid in full, not from him. From my grandparents. Direct transfer. Receipt emailed to me. And because I had asked the bursar very sweetly, to the primary account holder. My father. I didn't warn him. I let him find out. He stormed into my room that afternoon, printout in hand. What is this? Looks like tuition, I said calmly. You told them? His face was red, veins sharp at his temples. I showed them the statements. Silence, thick and dangerous. You embarrassed me, he hissed. There it was again. Embarrassment, always about image. You used my college fund for a vacation, I said evenly. I just corrected the narrative. He didn't speak to me for 2 weeks. Then came orientation day. My grandparents insisted on attending. They wanted photos. Pride radiated off them. My father came too. Of course he did. Appearances. We stood in the courtyard when my grandfather clapped me on the shoulder and said loudly, Worth every penny. My father stiffened. What penny? He demanded. My grandmother, sweet and lethal, answered. The tuition we paid, since the college fund mysteriously vanished. A nearby parent glanced over. My father's composure cracked. You had no right, he started. No, my grandfather interrupted. You had no right. And then my father did something I will never forget. He yelled. On campus, in front of faculty, students, strangers. He ranted about disrespect. About authority. About family loyalty. His voice rose wild and uncontrolled. People stared. Whispers spread. I watched the exact moment he realized he wasn't in control anymore, that his narrative was collapsing in public, that the image he protected so viciously was cracking. He left before the orientation speech began. My mother followed. My sister avoided my eyes. I stayed. I smiled for photos with my grandparents under the university crest. The fallout was slow but surgical. My grandparents revised their will. I didn't ask them to. They told me later. Relatives began asking quiet questions about the missing fund. My father stopped boasting. And I got my job back at the bookstore near campus. Not because I needed the money, because I wanted to. He doesn't mention embarrassment anymore. He avoids the topic entirely. The power dynamic shifted permanently that day in the courtyard. I didn't scream. I didn't expose him online. I didn't beg. I documented, I waited, I redirected. Now when he looks at me, there's something new behind his eyes. Not anger. Caution. He knows I won't tolerate quiet theft disguised as parenting again. And the best part? I graduate debt-free. My sister's souvenirs gather dust in her room. And the man who cared so much about appearances learned what public humiliation feels like. I didn't destroy him. I just removed the illusion. Sometimes revenge isn't loud. Sometimes it's a receipt.